very windy today, but luckily it's sheltered. The corner I want to get, I think, is going to be just out of the wind. I'm gagging to get down there. Well, I can hear the wind whistling over the top of me, just pure luck. It's not a great wind, it's got like east in it, I think. And it's coming off my back, I've got a bit of shelter here. So it's going to be windy in the mic, I can't help that. But looks like nobody else down here yet on the lake. I'm going to go up in the corner here and see if we can't knock a few fish out, but using a float. Well, I come to this sort of MPEG here. Like, I suppose I want to call it the ditch swim. And the wind is right off my back. Could be good for the float. But I'm also going to put a quiver tip down here in the corner. And I'm going to be fishing almost exclusively, I'm saying this now, with 3 different types of worm. So there's a couple of shot bought worms, and there's worms I dug myself last night. So float fishing on one, it'd probably be a link ledger with a lobworm on the other, and well, we just have to see how we go, won't we? Oh yeah, I've got some weird groundbait as well. It's green. Fingers crossed, I might pull in a tench. Well, you see it there. Give me 5 minutes to get rigged up and we'll go through the bait. Right, as always, although I'm using worm, I never neglect crust. I just got sliced bread. I break it up like this. I scatter it upwind because it's going to drift out that way. But under this tree, I'm still hopeful for a perch, or indeed pretty much anything. So I just scatter a few. Look, that's what, half a slice out there. And what I'm doing down here, let me show you. Got myself set up there, so I've got a very small buzzer which I can put low there. I've got a quiver tip rod as well, so I can see a bite visually because I'm looking in the same direction. I'm going to be float fishing out off the end of that willow. So I probably see the tip go before the bobbin comes up, the buzzer goes off, and I can just pick it up. That's the theory. The float, I'll show you, it's a regular float, but it's what we call, oh, listen, I don't know what they call them now, who knows. They change the names and it's all fashion. We call them antenna floats because the bulk of the shot is here. I'll turn it around so you don't see who they make because they don't do us any favours. And it's very thin at the top and it's got graduated marking segments here. So you can shot it down to there if you're fishing in dark, to there if you're fishing in light. And of course with the other second one here, that yellow, if I put it that way, you can get what's called a lift bite like this. Look, it just comes up. So those segments, you don't have to shot it and pip it right down like there, say as you would a stick float on a river. You can leave it quite long and that'll give you an indication of a bite. Another tip, with worms, you can just pause a second while this float goes under because a big bait, they might have hold of the tip of the worm. For beginners, it's held with one of these valve rubbers here. You can see either end and you can just pull the float off like this and change floats. And obviously a smaller float you will take the shot off and put smaller shot on. A heavier, larger float you will put bigger ones on. So you can change floats. But I suppose really it's to suit conditions, probably more for match fishing. Me, I'm just going to stick with the same float all day. But make sure you push that valve rubber on. Now I've set the depth. You've got to start with the float, let's say, I'm going to say a foot deep from the hook. Oh, come here you. I've got no bottom shot on there yet so it won't swing in. to use one of these. Okay, it's a plum weight. This one's about 40 years old. Lucky still to have it. It's heavier than the float. I put my hook, which is barbless 10, through there. Put it into the cork at the bottom. So that will pull my float under the water. And then you keep putting more and more depth on your float until this hits like there, boom, the lake bed, and the float is here, just sitting up like this. Okay, and then you've got a good depth. You can over depth it about 6 inches, which I probably will do with a worm because I want it on the bottom. And bear in mind, all this blossom and stuff is drifting that way. It's going to get into my line. It's going to drag my float out of position. Let's get a worm out there. I've thrown some ground bait. I'll show you the ground bait in a minute. Now, bait wise, the rooks are as usual going crazy. Is that a good sign? So I've got 3 different types of worm here, right? I'd like to be able to catch a tench. I'd like to be able to get a really big perch under this tree. They've got them over 3 pounds in apparently. These are called dendrobinas, which you can buy from the tackle shop. It's got a little marker there, keep them cool, 10 degrees. Fridge really, fridge. Let's have a look at them. You don't get a huge amount, but they come in sort of moss, dampish moss. I bought some maggots in case I do get nailed by the perch. Dendrobinas are not like, I'm going to call them brandlings, which are a lot smaller with a little sort of stripy mark on them, but they are a nice size. Clean that one off for you. They're a nice size worm to use, especially for tench, perch, roach, even a carp, and obviously they carp take everything. Then I've got lobworms. Again, these are probably commercially farmed. I don't imagine there's a guy going out with a fork digging these. These are lobworms, so there'll be a few in there. Look, let's clean this one off for you, and you can see what it's like. Night crawlers, they call them in America. Big lobworm, and it's got a flat tail. Now you can cut those in half and use them, or you can use them whole. If you use them whole, be aware that they do sort of mask the hook on a size 10. You might want to go up with the hook size or whatever the fishery lets you use, or hook half of it, snip it in half and keep the other half. If you try to keep these in a fridge, if you put a dead one in there, it will kill all the other live ones. So they need to be kept cool and damp. Like a day like today, I envisage using them anyway. And then, purely as an experiment, I've dug up some regular, plain old, common or garden earthworms. Now if you look at those, they're like way paler. They're way paler, aren't they? But I think they're just as good, and I'm wondering will they be as good or better because they've got that earthy taste with them. You should. I put them in with a bit of soil, kept them damp. I've got 1 lobworm there, tell a lie, got 1 lobworm. But I'm going to try those. They're better off keeping them in damp moss. Again, you've got to keep them cool. So let's get a worm out on the float and a worm out here. I could put a bit of ground bait in first. Let me show you this green weird ground bait I've got. Now I use just regular bran and Bailey's horse feed, as you know. This stuff, these pellets are really good for feeding, and they're called an expander pellet, right? Easy to prepare, it says. You need to damp them first. There you go, this size is 4mm. Find some scissors somewhere, I'll be able to open them up. Just run your knife across where the dots say. Just there, and hopefully you can reseal these. So I'm a great one for saving things if I don't use them all. But we're going to put some of these out there. Watch out, it doesn't blow away. I'll show you what they look like. Well, I smell them as soon as I open the packet. Yeah, they smell. Now they'll expand. So I'm going to put some of those in here. Just get them damp and just let them sit. Now the other one is this weird green stuff. Now I was up doing a Tench film. It's on our site. It's at Horcott, a place called Horcott. I don't know where it was. Oxford, Fairford I think, was it? And I'm fishing with one of the Tench Fisher Society. I think it was one of the Tench Fishers, and he swears by this stuff. This one's called Green Supreme fish meal ground bait. Doesn't particularly smell fishy, but anyhow, this stuff, look at that. When I first saw it, I thought That's how they're going to see green. How they're going to see it in a greenish water, you know, dirty water. And this is coloured here, look, it's all coloured. Look at it, I'll look down there. It's coloured. But trust me, this guy catches a lot of tench, and I did have a good session with him. I wasn't using this at the time, but he was, and he's putting in his feeder, and you know, he's doing okay. So we're going to put some of that in with those pellets, just damp it down and start feeding that just on the edge of the tree and little pinches in here. Then I'll mix them up later and put them in when I get the float set up. The bobbin I'm going to be using down here, wait for this, is a piece of rolled up silver sandwich paper. One of the most expensive types you can find. Gotta laugh, haven't you? That's what we used 50, 60 years ago, and I assure you, if that goes off, it will still pull up. And this weighs like next to nothing. I'm going to try one of these lobs. I might even try a half a lob. That's quite a big one. Let's try it. If there's a big perch down there, which I'm after, there's a good chance. I've got size 10 barbless and about a foot away a BB shot. In fact, you know, guys, I'm just going to use half a worm there. That one can go back, so I'm going to use him again in a second. Another little tip. I've had hold of those worms. You've got juice on the worms. I rub it up the line. I used to do this with trout pellet paste years and years ago, but I put a bit of smell. I think it puts a bit of smell up the line. I've hooked it twice. I'm going out under that tree. It's going to sink slow now. I might get perched out of sight. Check that drag, Graeme. I'm really after sort of anything today, but I'll be honest, a big perch or tench would be nice. So that line's sinking, and then I'm just going to put, I don't sort of need a buzzer on really. I've just got it to, you just fold that paper around the line, and I pull down till I can feel the weight of the worm there. One thing I will say, just take it onto or off a back wind. So if you do get one suddenly slam it, we get what's called a churner. The reel can go round. It doesn't pull the rod in. You've got just a chance to grab it. So I can watch the tip and I can watch here. The bite will come on the tip before it even registers down here. So if I'm float fishing looking that way, I've sort of got that in my same vision. How are these pellets cooking? I hope you're just hearing this all right, because the wind is howling up there. I would normally put, say, a number 8 or 6 shot just about here, but what you also have to allow for is the weight of the worm. And this applies to heavier baits like luncher meat and stuff like that. You've got to allow for the weight. So this one is what they call a dendrobina, which is a fairly standard worm. Still, I feel it's still quite a big worm. He's going on a couple of times, probably once through the middle. The reason I go up over the eyes because I'm on barbless hooks, so I don't want them wriggling off. Because the shop bought ones are not cheap. Out we go. Not up the tree, hopefully. We're going to see if the line will sink. Might take you 2 or 3 goes to get the line sunk. You know, to get where you can put some washing up liquid on there as well. That helps sink it. Bit tricky in the light seeing that float. I'm going to shorten that one up. If you've got a single handled reel like this, it's always going to do this. Watch. See it go down? You watch that, let's see. That's going to alter that. So let it go down to the bottom, and then you just adjust by turning the spool. Oh, Christ, I had one then. Oh, the worm's gone. Oh, it could be an expensive day. What a good job, all those maggots. It took that half a worm as I was just about to bump it. Where's the float? Hey, hang on, who's supposed to be watching? Where's Smith? Someone's supposed to be watching. I've got that down as a small perch. Oh, no. A golden tench, first cast with the float. That's a weird one. Got a weird mark on it. Looks like he's had some sort of heron or something had a go at him. That's a weird mark. Anybody know what that mark is? Put it that way you can see it. That's a strange mark. I've never seen one like that. Right, let's get him off. I want to get that lobworm out. That could have been a big perch. We're off the mark. I've lost the worm on one and I've got the worm on the other. So there's tench out there. If I could just get that sunk. I just looked and thought, hang on a minute, I'm missing something. Let's get that other half. Now this is the reason you can see why I got that lobworm I don't see the float again. Yeah, it's down here. Look, it's... Oh, no wonder it's down here, Graeme. There's a fish on the end. It's a perch. Now he's fallen off. That's handy. Yeah, a little perch. That's the downside of smaller worms. But 2 fish on the same worm. So I've got that half of that worm I had. I'm surprised I didn't connect with that fish because it took that bobbing. Hello, the float's going a bit peculiar. I might have trouble fishing this ledger right here. No, missed him. Now, let's see if we can get out that spot again. No. I've got to watch the overhangs in this wind. Okay, that looks good to me. I've chucked a couple of handfuls of ordinary white groundbait out there, and I've got to get this other green groundbait out there. So what I was saying, leave the long, if you've got 2 handles like this one, look, they're balanced. But when you get a single handle reel, I'll put it like this, it tends to go there, and then I adjust it by just turning the spool. If you watch the bobbin, it's going to come up now. There you go, look, I wind the bobbin up like that till I get the right, just so I can feel that bait there. I used to do loads and loads of fishing like this years ago. I see a bite on the float. Oh, now look, see the bobbin? I'm just going to tease it back there. There could be small perch. See it? See it? See it? See it? See it? Yeah, I'm on. That's lobworm. There goes my saw. Well, that feels like a good fish. That does not feel like. Hang on a minute. Let's move this float right out of the way, people. That doesn't feel like one of those tiny perch. I've got to watch this is not a big perch or a decent tench. It's a tench. Wowee. It's going well on the quiver tip rod. Small one, only a small one, guys, but there we go. And the other thing I'm going to do is unhook this one in the water. Where is he? He's in there somewhere. There he is, look. Tinker tinker with what looks like otters. Now that's a male one. See the big scoops on these ventral fins here? That's a male tench. That's a nice one though. Fun, 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 fun. That's what it's all about. Right, now look how those pellets have soaked most of that water up. They've expanded, but what I'm going to put in with that is this weird green stuff. Like this. So they're going to get quite a good feed, aren't they? The time is about 11:30, so it's not an early doors tench session. It's well, it's just a day fishing for me. I still would like a nice perch. This is some weird stuff. I've got to stake my hands. Now I've got to let that soak up a bit. Yeah, it's just getting sticky. And obviously those pellets also add to the stickiness, if you like. I'm going to chuck a couple of green pellets out here. If there's a lot of small fish, they're going to get through this stuff quite quickly. Well, at least it washes off. I'm not going to turn into the Incredible Hulk, am I? A little bit more damp in there. Right, bear with me 5 seconds, I'll get the rods out again. So we've caught on lobworms, we've caught on dendrobenas. Let's try the common or garden earthworm. I mean, we've got clay at our house, so it's fairly tough for them to work through, I imagine. Well, I'm on again, people, on the worm. This is the third fish on that same piece of worm. And it's another golden tench. Here he comes, a bit bigger, little tad bigger. There we go. I mean, it's rare to catch these guys. I've caught them in other fisheries, not many, a bit bigger than this. I don't know how big they get. I think they go to about 9 pounds. Some tench expert tell us, but that is a truly monstrous one. But going to try the common or garden earthworm. They're normally quite tough, but they will be better kept in moss, I have to say. I pull the float in here, out of the way, and I'm still getting bites. Look at that. I just lowered it in the water and I've got a perch. I have to put it in there for a second. I could get plagued with perch. Let's get this into the honey pot hole. Right, we've got it out. I might try with a bit bigger shot on there. I'm not even sure. I might not need that bobbin. I'm just watching the quiver tip. See, the handle's going to go down, just there, and then I just make the adjustment on the spool till the tench. It's just, I think I'll just try it without the silver paper. And one barbless, another time a fish would fall off, wouldn't he? There we go, perch. The rod's just taken off. It's crashed out the rest with the quiver tip. I don't know what it is. Move the float rod out the way. It's probably a carp. It might be a decent tench. I'm terrified it's going to be that big perch that's reputed to be in here. I'd say it's a tench by the way it makes those swirls. This is a tench. See if I'm right. There's the swirl. They make a very distinctive boil on the surface because they've got such a wide tail, sort of a bit like a miniature grouper really. Groupers have the same sort of rounded tail. 100% I got this down as a tench. Nice one too, he's giving me a good scrap. And it is, better be a tench after I said that. It is indeed a tench. Look at that. How wrong can you be? It's a very, very, very dark carp. Small one. That's a weird looking carp, and look at the colours up around his head. I've never seen that colour before. Now that was on the standard earthworm. And I have to say the take was so vicious it virtually took, well, look where this twisted all the rubber out of position. I think we'll try the garden earthworm again. Right, patently obvious I didn't need the silver paper there. Shake a bit of line off. Just going to rest it there so it's just got tension. And because he's such a good boy, taking that rod out the rest will give him a little bit of that green stuff again. Hooks I'm using are these ones called grips, which are size 10, but they got like little ridges on them. So if you're fishing with barbless, I find they might just hold that bait on a little bit longer. If you're using what I call live baits, you know, maggots and worms, that type of thing. For casters, sweet corn, bread, luncheon meat, it doesn't really matter. But I think anything that helps hold that bait on is good. I put the bobbin back on there. What you can also do is if you want, let's say, a sharper indication, the float's gone and the bait's gone as well. I'll just leave it down there for a minute. You can use what's called a link ledger, which I've made one up here. It's just a small barrel swivel, small short length of line, can be down to about here. and let's say a shot, so that pins it to the bottom, but it's running because your running line will go through the eye of this. I'll show you in a minute. Oh, and I still missed it. Just a bit of silver paper. Hang on a minute. I'm still getting these bites on the earthworm, so while I got this in, I'm going to change that one over. But you saw there, fish had no problem pulling out that silver paper. Well, the old duck's eating a good bit of the bread I've thrown in, and the rest has just drifted over there. But I haven't seen anything come up. I thought I'd see some rudd. So you just break it out like this. Fine, there's not loads of ducks around, and check all your rules, your regulations, you know what they're like. Ian's so fine, he lets you use bread here, it's not a problem. I'm going to plaster that with bread because I still feel that wind's going to drift it out under that overhang. Right, I'm going to put that link ledger on for you, show you that. I've extended that link there, so hopefully you'll be able to see this. Can you see the shot, which is a regular SSG, or what we call swan shot? Then the link here, which can be shorter or longer. You could just slide the shot up. I've tied onto one end of the swivel there. I've tied a knot in the end, so if I do pull into a piece of weed, the actual shot won't come off. And then it runs up and down on that swivel, stopped here, and there's the bait there. So whichever way the fish moves around here, I should get a bite indication without them feeling the weight of this big shot. For beginners, all for beginners. Experts, back to your bed chairs. Out I go. Drop it in there. Move it across a little bit. Get a little piece of high-tech silver paper. Terrible, isn't it, really? There's a fish here already. Look, I said that, I felt that fish when I went to pull the bobbin down, guys. The fish was there. You probably felt me pulling at the same time he was pulling. All his bread going past. Was there a bakery in operation up there? Look at it. Nothing's taken it. I thought the wind had taken it that way. It hasn't. It's pulled it along. Doesn't matter. It can go along the inside there. Let's just see if I can move that. Yeah, I can bump that now. But a fish had that. So I'm just going to adjust that as it hit. It's still there. He's still tweaking at that. I'd say possibly a small perch. I'm going to give a little bit more of the magic green mix out there. And I better put, oh, here we go, look. Watch the top, and we're on. Oh, quiver tip as well. What is this, another tench? Get this whole float right out of the way. Link ledger rules. And what is this going to be? What is this going to be? Oh, carp. Carpy. Now that link ledger, you could see the fish could pull any direction, and then I got a really good indication. But I paused rather than strike fast, which I would strike faster with maggots. Take the paper off. See the paper, you just, look, just pull off like that. Decent tench if it's tench, obviously small carp I'd say. Guessing. Got that rod hooked over. Good old Avon. It's called tons. Yes. That's a nice fish. That could be £3 plus. Let's have a look at it. Mind you, I'm only on a quiver tip. Don't forget, this is the Avon rod with a quiver tip section. I'll tell you what, these fish do scrap in this little lake. Idyllic surroundings. I mean, so look, on idyllic surroundings. It's got to be carp and that. It's a dark carp. Come on, in you come. He's in. What I've done now is put the mat there, so if I do get a bigger one, I can just do this and put him straight on the mat like that. See, there's the worm. I'll get another one out of that. He's got a pectoral fin missing there, see it? There. Slide him back. Happy days. That worked so fast, it was ridiculous. I'm still fancying that for a perch. Bobbin's back out. That's all set. Getting in a bit of a mess here. So many fish coming. Oh look, put the reel under the water, why don't you, Graeme? And we'll see if we can get All these fish just on worms. I dare say I'll probably catch on maggots, don't get me wrong, I'm just trying to show you that you can just come with worms, you don't have to have the shot ones. Just indicated that with that last take and the fact that it went up with ordinary earthworms. Which these are, but I should possibly have put them in moss. Well, the way these fish are feeding in this little lake, I don't think we need to bother what we're putting them in, just have we got enough? I'll be watching that. There we go, there we go, there we go. That was a twitch. I'll use it like a semi-catapult cast here because I've got the trees there. So I'm lining the rod up where I want, and as I swing it forward, I accelerate it by twanging this. It's hard to describe, watch. Sends it right out. I put a little bow to the right, because the wind caught it a little bit, and just set that down there. It is an absolute pain trying to see that float. All that rubbish on the top. Now, I don't see any point in using any maggots yet. I'm going to bump this once. Now that's too long, so I just make sure the handle is low and I screw it like this. I wind it back up on the spool to about there. Wow. A cloudy day, it might actually benefit me and work in my favour rather than blazing blue sun. If I throw any more bread in, I've got to throw them way over there and let them drift out the front. But as you can see, look, it's just drifting on, nothing's coming up. I think it might be a late afternoon, evening deal here. That's my hunch. Oh, lift bite, and we're on. Perch. Small perch, I'm guessing. Or tench. Another gold tench. You notice how I'm calling these fish totally incorrectly. And look at the colours in this little guy. They certainly are vivid, aren't they? Guys, lunker time. Lunker time. This is a proper carp. He's way round by that tree. He's took a load of line off. Oh no, he took a load of line off me. I should think it's a one-way ticket. I should think it is a one-way ticket. But you never know. It's a tiny little dinky. Oh no, don't do that, mate. Don't do that. Oh, he's gone in the middle. We've got a chance. An outside fighting chance. He's on the surface there now. Standing up for this one. Tiny little dippy fight. I thought that was like a... Oh yes, a nice sized carp. Happy days, that's a nice one. Mirror, I think. Here comes the helicopter. It's the carp police. Oh, it's the wrong... It's not a Wednesday carp, it's a Tuesday carp. You can't fish for those on a Tuesday, all that. Worms are banned. But he's still on. I think it might be a common, I thought it was a mirror. He's done. He's coming in. He's had enough of that green ground bait. Well, he was coming in. Oh, I'll tell you what, he scrapped. He scrapped well above his weight, that one. Well above his weight. Nice looking fish. Nice looker, look at that. That's what you call a good condition fish. Back he goes. Bye. Thanks for playing. So, going well, folks. Getting through the ground bait. I've got the afternoon and evening yet. I've tried a piece of bread on there. Zippo. So we're going to go back to Dendrobina on the float out there. That's what that last carp took. I can see, honestly, I'm not going to have enough bait. We'll go to maggots. Now you can when you're using worm, my absolute go-to bait for tench, oh, Graeme, just the wind is blowing it away, is a brandling really. Dendrobena's okay for, you know, bigger tench. Brandling, but 2 red maggots tipped off. And don't ask me why, but I do okay for the tench using that. Link legend like this, or in conjunction with a swim feeder. But I'm going around about 2 or 3 times here. I'll change that bread in a second. This is that sort of target catapult cast I do. I lean over, get it right on a straight line. And because I've got worm, I can sink and wind it in. Now, let's have this bread out the way. The difference between bread and worm here, for some reason, worm seems to work in the afternoons. Oh, evenings, I'm going to say evenings. But during the daytime, you know, just, it seems to be worm all the way. I'm going for maggots. No. The old duck's out there hoovering up bits of bread. It's quite a pleasant little chappie. Fairness, I think I've only seen like 2 ducks here, which is handy. Right, boys. I fear under this tree, this one, well, it won't last long if I go around the microphone lead. I'm watching this float all the time, so let's get this over there. That's perfect. Quite a bit of rubbish coming off the trees now, that's going to be a bit of pain. Get that down, silver paper round, just pull back a touch, sit back and await events. I've just dragged out that swim a little bit. I find little and often is generally better. At daytime for tench. If you're fishing through the night, at the time of doing this film, there's no night fishing here. Dawn to dusk, light to dark, wherever you want to put it. Sunrise to sunset. That's going to go in a minute. See, I can see that tip just tweak out the corner of my eye before the bobbin actually registers. So if I was fishing for tench at night, I'd probably much heavier ground baiting because they're on the feed dawn, dusk and through the night, and then during the day less feed because they're not going crackers, the tench, and especially if the sun comes out, not good, can be tough unless you're in a deep coloured gravel pit. Weird bite, played around with it for ages. I think I've got stick or something on there. Oh my God, it's a big perch. Oh my God, it's a big perch. Oh, how am I going to get this? I've got a stick on the line as well. Don't fall off, please, don't fall off. I've got him. Oh, wow. I've got a branch as well. That was so lucky. Yes, sirree. It's gone right through the snag and out the other side. Let's get that up the... Oh, get in. Check this one out. What? Do you know I had it in my mind all the time? A big perch under that tree. And there you go. What about that, peeps? I did say I fancied a big perch. And do you know what? They're in here, they're supposed to be even bigger than that. Got his fin up as well. What a crackerjack fish. Let's get it back. Wowee. There you go, buddy. Go on. Let me go. Oh, nearly. He's slack line there. Small perch, I got that down there, guys. And the float seems to have disappeared. Just had that run. This one smacks of a small perch again. And it is indeed a little miniature golden tench on worm, on a piece of lob worm. I've just thrown a bit more ground bait in. So maybe that's made the difference. Keep still, chappy. He's gone back. But most of the majority of the action does seem to be underneath this tree, which is a bit straight. Oh, that's me. Don't worry, calm down, Mr. Mannering. It does seem to be under there, midway under there. Strange how sometimes one particular bait will catch. And I've caught on all different types of worms now. Garden dug worms, regular earthworms, dendrobina worms from the shop, lobworms from the shop. Don't seem any difference at all. It just seems to be they want worms. Tried maggots, tried bread, nothing on either. Lift bite, ooh, you were so close. Generally I find a sharp lift bite would be a small fish that's picked it up. A bigger fish will pick it up, lift the float up, and then it will bury. Well, obviously feeding that little bit extra ground bait has made a difference there. I'd like to nail another big fish under here. Carp, perch, grass carp, any of those. I'm surprised I haven't had a bream actually. On again, I'm guessing it's a perch of some description. Oh no, it's tench. Another tench. I can't quite get that camera angle for you people, but take my word for it. I guess because of the coloured water, I'm still catching tench. This one's not a golden one, this one's a green one. Not a big fish, look, there aren't any big fish in here, a big giant tench. It's just nice to catch tench, and that is on the link ledger. Small one this time. Right, got a smaller worm here now on the link ledger. I'm just going to ping it where I put a little bit more ground bait there. If I can get it under without getting it up the tree, that would be handy. That's going to have to do it. The wind is pretty annoying, but it is off my back. I think I had a fish on that straight away then. I could feel it through the quiver tip. But we'll put a bobbin on there as well. I'm pretty sure that got hit on the way down. And then concentrate. See, the thing is I can float fish just like this, and the ledger rod is sort of out the way to the right. I'm getting through the feed a little bit, possibly not getting the results, but I'm ticking away, and I'm kind of surprised, you know, that I haven't had more carp, because generally the carp will move in and muscle all the other fish out, but no surprise when they do turn up, and I feel sure they might. I've stopped feeding floating bread, floating crust, nothing's taken it. The surface over there is absolutely covered in willow blossom, so I figure that's going to sort of put them off. And will they see my bread in amongst all that? I don't think so. I might drop a few bits down in here, and I might have to put the brolly up behind me because the wind is a bit chilly on my back. It's not really disturbing my fishing, but it's just annoying. If it blows that blossom away, happy days. I don't want to put the brolly up, and then it stops the blossom drifting off, and I can't see. Ah, there's a bite. See, I saw the quiver tip move before the bobbin moved. On that one there, on the quiver tip rod. And a fish here, guys, on the worm, and it is a chub, a stillwater chub. Look, the number of species, to be honest, that I'm catching on worm, it's not ridiculous. It's a main fishing bait from years ago, wasn't it, you know? Where's that float? Oh, there's the old duck. So we go, a little chub. Back you go. Good job there's not a pike in here with all that lovely shiny silver body you've got. I'm going to put a few more pellets in to soak. I'm getting through the bait. I'm going to be back on my old ground bait, I think, and I'll put a bit of that green stuff in as well. So I've got plenty of time. I've got to get through this evening. There we go, straight on, straight on. There's the other rod. I just unhooked it and I've got a fish straight away. What is this one? I reckon it might be another rudd. And he's in fact completely wrong. I mean, the whole day I've been calling fish wrong. It's another small tench. Only a little chappy. A wee chappy. It'd be nice when these grow on. These get to like 4 or 5 pounders. Can you imagine them on a float rod? What I'm trying to tell you is, how many fish can you catch on worms? Look at that. A little scrapper. Yeah, we're still going on the tench here, and he looks pretty good. Lovely colours in this sunlight. Let's get him back. He's coming pretty quick. There he goes. Go on. Good session. I managed to lower up those worms on there again. I've taken the, that's no good, the wind got me then. Doesn't look windy, but it's coming from my right shoulder. I want to go over that side, sink it about there. I mean, tench are incredibly slimy, but it's not the same disgusting slime that you get on bream. It's just not, doesn't come off on everything. That's blowing the willow blossom away, so I can at least see my float now. When I'm using lobworm, even with the bobbin, I tend to leave small baits up here. I'd have the bobbin there, and longer bait, bigger baits I'd have with a longer drop, so I've got more time to pick it up and move off with it. It would be nice if this all cloud breaks up. It's been a bit of heat on my bones. Unfortunately, it's going round this way. It's going to set round through there somewhere. So I am going to be in the shade, but at least it'll warm it up a little bit. I'm at Tench, still catching tench, 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon. I have a fish on the ledger, on that link ledger. Not quite sure what this one is. He's tugging away. Might be a bigger perch. Actually, no, it's a bit bigger chub. Yes. Here he comes, here he comes, here he comes. He's in. What a little trip I'm having. Almost getting to river-sized chub there, people. Almost getting there. And they do seem to live in still water. I mean, I've had a barbel out of here before. I like barbel in the river myself, and chub. But it's nice to catch. Well, I just lost one on the float. And Mike came down. He's been fishing in a match. Been pretty quiet, and it just sort of seems as that sun's gone round and there might be a bit of an evening bite. So I've lost one carp, and I've got another carp hooked up here on lobworm down underneath the ditch area. And this is a big thing. Oh. Guys, Christ, I fell over there. It's only a barbel. I thought it's got to be a carp the way it's going. No, I've got this down as a barbel. Might have been wrong with every fish so far. No, it's a little barbel. Well. That is weird. That is weird. Look at this, look at this. It's a bizarre place, isn't it, this little lake? Hang on. Don't want him leaping up my hands. Check that out. That is, no question, my second, I believe, stillwater barbel. Well pleased. Amazing. Floatfish worm, and the other one I had was on floatfish bread. So I'm going through all the baits with these barbel. Beautiful. I wonder how big these guys will grow in still water. Off you go. Go on. Get in. I'm straight back in again. I've had the barbel on my Tench. I mean, what a session I'm having, people. There's a nice Tench there. See the worms? He's got a couple of dendrobinas there. And they're just kicking off big time. Brilliant. So, the attire, I've got my totally awesome hoodie up, cap on, and the brolly up. Hoping it doesn't alter the blossom on the water here, and I've got a nice slick patch. I can actually, now the sun's gone round, see my float, and I am a good deal warmer. Because I know what's going to happen. I'll be complaining in a minute that I'm too warm. I'm on 3 maggots on about a size 16 on the left hand float. So I've got all through my standard dug earthworms, they've gone. Loads of perch I've had, and other bits and pieces that I haven't filmed. Skimmer bream, small ones. And on the inside here, I've just baited up with some more ground bait in both swims. Wound in, had a cup of tea, sandwich, left it, gone back in. Bit dead at the moment. The bobbin is motionless. The float out there appears to be motionless, but could flash away at any second. And all that blossom, that white on the water like snow, thankfully is over that side. So I consider myself today, although I've only got sort of afternoon left and I will fish in the evening, I consider myself lucky to have got a day out today. Float or quiver tip, link ledger, whatever you want. So float water, primarily it's float water. Guys, the wind's dropped off and the fish are going crackers. A lot of swirling going on out here. I'm on again here on the float rod. No, on the Avon. I don't even know what I'm using. It's all gone crazy on me. That is a carp, but I've got it between me, holding it on my legs and the seat. There's been a big fish swirling on the crust out there. So I'm figuring it could be a grass carp. Let's get this one in first. Mike left me some dendrobina worms that I've run out and they're just going bonkers on it. Looks like another common. Well, just see what we got here. Watch I don't knock that camera over. Behind me. Oh, better fish, better fish. It's literally like throwing a switch, to be honest. Got most of that. I'm supposed to cook up and have something to eat, and I'm not even sure it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. Here he comes. Oh, he's in. He's swum the wrong way. Look at this. It's about a 5-pounder, I guess. It's that one that swirled out deep that I just got a feeling. I've got a bad feeling it might be a big. Let's hope for the old barber's hook's out. There we go. I think the one out there is one of those horrendously big giant grass carp. I just got that bad feeling. I can't keep pace with it. It's an evening thing, you see. A lot of guys go home. You've got to stay, especially in the summer, low light. I've got to get one down there for a big perch again. It's stilled off, and there's a carp out there. It might be a grass carp taking bread off the top. I don't know if you can see it. Whoa, yes, please. That's a nice swirl. I need to get out with some bread. Down here. I've got the quiver tip rod with a worm for perch, and the float is, can't even see it. I'm so besotted by those swirls out there. I've got to get bread out, guys. Guys, I've lost 2 grass carp off the top with the waggler float shortened up, you know, to about 2 feet from the hook. I've just changed hooks and I don't know what I've got here. I'm on back one. I've got a piece of crust down there I've got to keep an eye on. I think it's just a regular, but I don't know. I'm just staying on back one at the moment so I can maintain hook hold pressure in it. I've lost 2, so I haven't got a great deal of faith at the moment. And this, you'll notice, is on my match rod that I'm actually carp fishing with. I'm guessing it's not one of the big ones. But it's annoying, I lost 2 really good fish, and there's a big fish under there, but I can't get to him. A strange sort of tannic acid type of look on the top of the water here, but it's slicked off. And that is Uncle Graham's calling card for floating crust. Yes, only a small fish. So small fish, that was a big fish. I had lost 2 good ones. Cranked me off down the lake and just hooks pinged out. It looks like a mirror. Good fish to close out with. You know me and last cast, always absolutely hanging there. He's in. Oh, what a session. What a session. So there you go, guys, another nice carp. Sun's still not set yet. See it on the treetops over there. So I figure with the sun not setting, that must mean I see the sun through there. Totally legal I am. I figure that calls for, yes, one more cast. Where's that grass carp? Oh, I got one in the ditch, guys. I call this a ditch swim. Small one, but he's been fiddling around bits of bread for a long time. And I finally got one piece of it right up against the edge there. And he came up and took it. The big grass carp out in the middle seemed to have gone. But this is a regular size one. I might actually go underneath this later on. Oh, don't disturb my other one which is just about to be taken by. Oh my God, is that the grass carp? I don't think it is. I'm down to my last few pieces of bread. Just listen to the pigeons. This is why you go fishing. Take the trouble to stay late. Oh, that could be fish of the day here, guys. Oh dear. Let's not mess about with this one. I thought it was a little one that's fiddling around with it. It's a common. Could be fish of the day. He's in, he's in. Yes, oh yes. Yes, please. What a session, eh? The secret lake comes good again. Again. I suppose he's about... Lift him up slowly. His commons can go completely sparko. There you go. What a session. Floating crust, I love it. Look at the paddle on that one. Bright orange. Lovely looking fish. Let's get it straight back. Oh, by the way, that was one of those last casts. I've got to have another one as well. Well guys, I've had a great day's fishing. I'm just going to grab some sleep. I'm trying to work out how to heat this pie up. I'm hoping if I leave it in boiling water in its packet, just tune that down a bit. So, and I've got some tin of boiled potatoes here as well, so I won't be dying of starvation, because I'm going to grab 4 hours sleep in the car tonight. I want to get up at dawn and hit the place for about 2-3 hours before I go somewhere else. So I need to get something to eat, and this is a cracking little spot I'm in. My room for the night is here. Sleeping bag, camp bed, blow up, lie low, and because it's curved I've got 2 pieces of pallet wood, what else would I use, in there to level it all out for me. I've got the parboiled potatoes on the go, and over here, totally experimental way of trying to heat a pie up in that, you know, silver foil. It could leak, it could be a total soggy mess, I have no idea, but I am trying. I just want to get the heat just right. So it transmits through there into the pie. The spuds are definitely going pretty well, that can be tuned down. The main major disaster is I forgot the can of beer. There's no B&B for me. This is the way to do it. Out in the wild. You know, you get in the summer, I'm not staying out all night in the winter. I've done all that years ago, I'm too old for that. But when we get some decent weather, I don't mind doing overnighters, I quite like them. Because for me to do all the way to Somerset, I'd have to leave 1 o'clock in the morning to get here for like 4 o'clock dawn. I just want to, basically, I'm going off to another fishery and I'm trying to get so say 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30 generally with tench is all over by the shouting in a lot of waters. So I'm going to try and catch a few tench in the morning and then move on somewhere else. I might get lucky, I might not. I might not get lucky with a steak kidney pie. It might dissolve, I don't know, this is all an experiment. Life is one experiment. I really enjoy sleeping in this car. I don't have to put the tent up, you know, I don't have to bother with the tent. I've got tents, of course I've got tents. I don't need to, it's 6 feet, put the seat forward on the passenger side, because I've got no friends, so nobody ever goes in the passenger side. Put the seat forward, 6 foot camp bed that I do when I go overnight carping, which again is not very often. Oh, that's a big lorry. And hopefully this stuff heats up. Now you can eat these pies cold, of course you can, but I'm just basically trying to find a way of warming it up. But the spuds are nearly done, I think. Great, I love it. That was nearly caught in the slips. Suggestions as to how we get the pie out without tipping it on its side and getting water all over the pie. Ouch! I'm going to turn the pie upside down because I know it's warm. And there we go. Happy days. No gravy, that's a bit disappointing. Old age pensioner survives to fight another day, hopefully. Let's try this pie. I'm starving tonight. Joking apart, if I gave that a bit longer it would be hot. It's nice and warm. Wow, I've learnt something there. Just enough water so it's below the lip of the silver foil base. Wow, that's really interesting. A little bit of gravy wouldn't have gone amiss. Well, folks, I've done okay. It's dusk. Time to call it quits. I've packed up. Had a good session, but it's been. I know I've done okay, but it's been right funny. I've got to tell you, it's been right funny. This camera's brilliant in low light. I can barely see the walk. It's really good. And you can see like the lake, it's just gone dead. It's weird. I mean, I've caught good fish, but look, I've been here all day, and this should be alive at night like this, and it's not. And the reason is I've just seen the moon peeping up over there, and I've really never done any good on a full moon. We've had so much cloud for so long, I didn't even realise it was getting onto a full moon. So if it clears up tonight, it's going to be a cold night, and it's not a good portent for the dawn session I've got planned for some tench, and then on to another fishery. Let's just hope that cloud stays over it. Time to pack up. Guys, thanks for watching the Untitled Chapter fishing show. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I've enjoyed it. Good bit of float fishing, and I'll tell you what was really good. Old school link ledger did me really proud, that one. I've used that for some time in still water. It's really a river fishing little rig or technique, if you like. We'll see you in the next one. Hit the subscribe button. Both channels, TA Fishing, TA Outdoors. I've done so much talking, the voice is going. We'll see you on the next film.